and welcome to Life in the Mind, a neurodivergent podcast presented by neurodivergent people. I'm Joy Amy Wigman.
And I'm Murray Spear.
And today's episode is one of our topic episodes. So where we bring on one of our guests, which our guest, which was the one from this week, which is Elisa. Hello, Elisa.
Hi.
And we have a little chat about a topic of interest for us and kind of how it relates to neurodivergence. And so we're going to talk a little bit about support and access. Because it's very different up and down the country. I mean, on the episode that we spoke to you last, you were saying about how different things were in Buckinghamshire to how they are in Gloucestershire. So, it's an interesting subject because it is so different. You're sort of playing the postcode lottery, aren't you?
Yeah.
Depending on what kind of support you get.
Massively variable. I've heard stories of some counties, even just with like their autism assessments, some places barely have any done at all. And you get turned away by the GP if you go to them with struggles. And other places, loads of people, and they've got great after diagnosis care, and they've got all these support things.
I'm currently a year into the waiting list for my official assessment, despite the fact that I was diagnosed by a healthcare professional, but they're not from the right department, so I have to go to the special department apparently, rather than the clinical psychologist that I spoke to. It's so weird, isn't it?
It is. And you were talking in the last episode we had you on, Lisa, about that difference between Buckinghamshire and Gloucestershire. Were you in Buckinghamshire when you found out about stuff?
Yeah. And the amount of paperwork and reports, there's at least 5,000 pages.
Wow.
Yeah. It's quite a lot. We've travelled up and down the country, but Gloucestershire, it's just, you can't compare it. It just wouldn't be right to, because Gloucestershire is just, as I said in my last episode, it's amazing. The activities for people.
Is that kind of specifically like learning disability support or physical disability support or just support in general?
Support in general, really. I can't speak for the elderly, but I can speak for mental health and learning disabilities and homelessness. It's very unique.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, because these things vary so much.
And sometimes you sort of need somebody to help you get that access as well.
Yes.
So
open the door.
Yeah. So like most of my experience have been to do with kind of access and stuff has been to do with the fibromyalgia or complex PTSD. And like when I was at university, there was sort of quite a good support system set up if you knew how to access it. And being able to access it was quite difficult if your particular set of skills is not geared towards personal admin. I mean, like you were saying, Elisa, like thousands of pages of things. Having to make a phone call, so having to phone the disability team, like me and phone calls, especially when things are particularly bad, I just can't do them.
Well, in my case, two things. I was actually diagnosed with PTSD after my traumatic bullying.
Right, okay.
Secondly, we were heavily involved with the local authorities. They are useless, but Buckinghamshire have known us quite well, so I guess I can't say that, but you have to gather all the evidence to get appeal tribunal and go to court. And I'm interested to know what they actually do, because I don't think they do anything. I don't think they care.
That is such a stressful thing to put somebody through, let alone somebody who may be particularly vulnerable because of their disabling barriers. Putting somebody through court is just like, why?
I didn't get to go to court, but I wanted to speak up, and I didn't have the opportunity to do that. But we also had a barrister, an educational psychologist, a physiotherapist, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy.
Was that, sorry to interrupt, but was that for just to get you to move schools?
Yeah, I had loads of assessments, psychiatric assessment, and then we also had a solicitor. But the thing is, like, the stuff I did, yeah, it wasn't great, what I did. But number one, I didn't mean it. But professionals like Karen, you'd hear something like that and you'd be really cross with them for doing it. They weren't cross, they were just worried, and like they just had the patience to listen to my mum's worries, concerns and questions.
It was more about what was best for you and like what the behaviour actually meant. Yeah. Rather than just...
It has a meaning. It definitely had a meaning. Yeah. And this is kind of a conversation, but a question. I wondered if Inclusion Gloucester could help me go to a theatre or a court so I can speak out about this, because there's people suffering like I did, and I want to pay back to society. Yeah. I wondered if you guys could help me with that.
If you want people to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine, given there's so many things within Gloucestershire, like you're talking about, you're alluding to in the last episode, that there'll be some service here, and Inclusion Gloucestershire may well be that. I'm not sure. Yeah.
This is a good start. So, like, talking about this, being so open about it. On something like a podcast. Obviously, these get put on YouTube as well, and just getting the word out there. It starts with people being able to be open about their experience, because not everybody is built to do that. Not everyone is able to share and has the strength to share.
I'm confident in anything and everything.
Yeah, you're
I'm not
like
scared.
Outspoken, and it's great because that's how change starts. Yeah. By people talking.
Someone stands up.
Yeah, someone stands up and goes, "This isn't okay. Yeah. This is what happened. Yeah. I don't want this to happen to anybody else."
I never want this to happen to anyone else. It's wrong, and people get away with it. People just don't understand.
There are so many little injustices in the world that needn't exist, but often they're a product of out-of-date systems, or systems that are geared towards a certain view of the world, and they create all these little gaps, these little grey areas, and these little fissures for people to fall into.
I mean, one of the things I've experienced is, and you get this in supermarkets and public places, cinemas, soft play areas, parks, swimming pools. Someone's having a meltdown on the floor, banging their heads, and they're crying out for help. And then you get people, members of the public, staring at them and making comments saying, "Oh, stop that behaviour right now. Get up, get up, get up." That's not going to help them.
No.
And tatting and move out of the way and all that. It doesn't do anything. Yeah. And that makes me angry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it just makes things worse.
You wouldn't tell somebody with a broken leg to just get up and walk.
No,
You wouldn't do that.
That would be ridiculous.
Yeah. But there's such a massive amount of misunderstanding, because we know that that's not the right thing to do, but I think it's a weird pseudo-privileged position to know, because I imagine we all know from experience that that's not the right thing to do.
But to be in that privileged position to have never, like, you don't even know anybody who might have to do that.
Yeah, but that kind of all this things, that reverse privilege of we've experienced it.
Right.
We know, because
We
it's
know
that
that
privilege
that's-
of, and so we know what is the right thing to do. So we can act, inverted commas, altruistically or in the right way to be helpful, the right way.
Or
But it's so
communicate
easy to
through
lose.
mediums like this.
Yes, exactly.
What is the right way
And
to help?
exactly,
This
these
is
things
the
can be
right way.
vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
by speaking out. And also, like, yeah, it just doesn't help anything. But the phrase I've always said, it's always a mantra in my mind: we're not naughty people, we just struggle. I can see it firsthand from my experience how painful it is.
Yeah.
Not just for the client person, but for the parents as well. It's just so unnecessary. And I don't think there's a need to wait that long. I mean, it's all right. I mean, it's not just about the NHS cuts. It's about funding for learning disabilities. There's nothing on the news or in the newspapers or on the media about it.
That's a really good point. It's very rarely talked about, these
Exactly.
kind of issues.
Yeah.
The disability, well, the disabled among us are still kept in the shadows, still overlooked.
Which just seems mad. It was such a large part of the population, and yeah, it's like the media is embarrassed. Is embarrassed to talk about it.
But by bringing us into the light and actually giving us opportunities, as you've found, we can actually give more to society than if we're pushed aside and just like, well, you can't do anything, so just go over there and stay quiet.
You just get
then
backed
it's
into
just
a
gonna
corner.
get worse.
Yeah.
And it's just horrible. And it makes me angry. Like, and I've been out of school for a year, waiting and waiting. And they don't care that my mum's a single parent. They don't care that my mum's divorced and there's other siblings. They don't care about the mental health, psychological effects. It's not just me, it's the sibling, because I have a sister and it affected her quite badly.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be, that's what I've found in my experience, support for families as well as the person that they're supposed to be supporting.
There's not enough support across the board. So many things struggling at the end of their tether and being overworked and run into the ground because there's not enough.
There's lack of funding.
Lack of funding, and also
Not
like
people's
for when
willingness.
things just start happening. So things have to be really extreme for anything to be done.
Yes.
Whereas, like,
But that's sad.
it is. It
It
really
has to go
is.
to extreme levels to get people to listen.
Like you say, having to like go through all of that and go to court for something like that.
It was
And
exhausting.
yeah, it must have been absolutely draining.
The lack of sleep for my mum.
I know that I get overwhelmed by accessing support that I could have. So I think the thing that I use the most in terms of support is the enablement team in Cheltenham. So there's a drop-in centre and I can go and book an appointment with someone and they'll help me with my bills or any letters that I've had that need people phoning. Because like I said previously, like sometimes I really struggle with phone calls and processing information just via audio. And sometimes I just don't understand stuff at all. Anything to do with numbers, I'm gone. It just doesn't go in. So bills and stuff I really struggle with. And even accessing that, because it is a phone call in order to get there, that's been difficult. And I only got given access to that when things got really bad.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was more open, that these, like the signposting, so I know Inclusion Gloucestershire do some great signposting, but signposting these services in the mainstream media rather than everybody having to wait until it's a really bad situation would stop the situations from getting bad in the first place.
It's just sad that they think they need to do that. Wait until it's so extreme. And the assessments was long, and I actually read some of the paperwork. My mum had lots of files of 5,000 pages of reports and that, and I was reading this one report, and it just made me want to cry because, you know.
And you also have to present the worst. So like,
this is the thing.
PIP, for example, the way you have to do the assessment,
The
you have to
PIP
write it out.
assessment.
They have to
what's the
over-exaggerate,
worst possible
otherwise-
circumstance. It's not necessarily over it. It's just
No.
thinking of the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I have to
and
start
then writing those
start
down.
every sentence with "on my worst day,"
Yeah.
because
And
they'll
it's
always
so
say,
hard to
"Oh, on
sit
an
in
average
that.
day, there's no such thing as an average day.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist."
It was so painful and heartbreaking, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me emotional talking
Yeah,
about
sorry,
it.
Elisa.
It's fine.
It's important, isn't it? It's important to recognise that it does, because those emotions are within us. They have a real space. They are really valid because they are a reaction within our body against something that isn't right, something that's not right for us, something that's not right for society. It's just we recognising something's not right, and by doing by advocating for stuff, speaking out and going, this isn't right, this isn't working, was really hard for me, and by signposting things and going, but this is a thing that helped me and this is what works, and these are the things that are out there, which we actually, our website is
It's going to be doing.
And
Yeah.
I think it's live, well, when you listen to it, it probably
Yes,
will be.
when you listen to this, it will be live.
But that's all so valuable, all
Yeah.
of those things.
And that sort of that anger that you feel is like a driving force behind you talking about it and getting help for other people, which is amazing. And we need more people like you that are prepared to go, hey, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And hopefully get people to listen. Well, this has been a bit of a whirlwind. Make sure you guys go and have a cup of tea or your beverage of choice. Maybe a little bit of chocolate if you can have chocolate, or if you're more of a savoury person, maybe a banana, a bit of potassium. Look
go and
after
stare at
yourself. Yeah, or just go and stare at
Or
leaves.
homemade soup.
Homemade soup, yeah, something cosy. And look after yourselves, and get angry about it, because that's how we make change.
Yeah. And anger is a valid emotion.
It's a valid emotion and it
space.
has a use.
And
It's that cold to drive you
it's-
forwards.
It's hard to make a difference on your own.
Yeah, we will become a collective voice if we all get on our soapboxes and say it's not good enough. Well, thank you so much again, Elisa, for coming in.
My pleasure.
Always a joy to talk to you.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, that's it for this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at life.inthemind. Our other socials are linked in our bio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. See you next time.